But now you're gone and leaving nothing but a sign. Another evening I'll be sitting reading in between your lines, because I miss you all the time.
Hello and welcome, Chooms, to this special episode of Campaign Comrades. I should have said, a very preem episode of Campaign
Nova.
Comrades. Supernova, we're going there. We are going far beyond. We are diving into. We're living on the edge today.
Living on the edge
We
of
are
glory.
we are doing our monthly adaptation episode, and finally got everybody to watch Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This is going to be a very interesting take on this series because from our differing perspectives, because Mike and Matt have now watched it without playing the game. I watched it first, played the game, and then watched it again. And then Andrew played the game and then watched it. So we're all kind of coming at it from different touchstones. And like my views on it definitely changed after it was that a unique experience for me, having watched it before and having some confusion, and then playing the game and then seeing it again and having those things cleared up. And I had different opinions on some of these elements, some for the better, some for the worse, I'd say. But I think we've got some unique perspectives to bring in to look at this one, like best gaming adaptation at its year of like the Game Awards and shit, right?
Yes,
I'm
it
pretty
did.
sure it was a shoe-in. I've got like its page open here.
Pretty damn
Like
good.
it's got some. So it won best
I thought
anime
it won
series.
a decent amount of awards.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't. It was only nominated. It was 2022. Was that the same year as Arcane? Because Arcane might have won if it was the same year. Because last year was
It was Arcane.
it was
that
Arcane.
one.
Because then last year was, or this most recent year was Last of Us, which was not competing against those two. So yeah, it's a toss up. I honestly think I'm gonna like. I already know what my scores are gonna be when we get to the end of the episode, unless you guys like have some real strong arguments that kind of shake me off my firm beliefs. That I think this is for me is going to, no pun intended, edge out Arcane for me. It's like my top rated thing for this sub series that we do on the show. But it is kind of a toss up, when you put them side by side, which one is like, you have to look at them, which is the better adaptation, which is the better just show in and of itself. It's kind of, they do kind of go neck and neck in a lot of ways. But I think for me,
Interesting that they released them both in the same year from Netflix.
and they were just high quality animations too, right? Like that was like what was so strong about
Was
this.
that also the year they did they had another animated movie that got a lot of praise. I think it was like Nomana or something.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
A pink-haired shapeshifter.
Yes, yes, I know the one you're talking about. And yeah, a lot of people like that.
Because I think that was also sometime around then.
Yes, yeah, they were on a good animation kick at that point. But
and now they're going live action anime.
How can you go wrong, with the partnership with Studio Trigger here? I know Matt is the real, he's the real cultured one. I'm doing steeple fingers. He's the trigger head here.
I love Studio Trigger.
Yeah, how does this stand up in terms of the rest of Trigger's catalog?
I mean, it shares a lot of theming with Kill La Kill in particular, which follows a lot of the same type of. It's a little longer. Kill La Kill is a 24 episode, but that's a full series, and then that's it. There's no second season or anything like that.
Well, it's the same here with Edgerunners. This is just going to be, this is a limited series run,
which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I don't think this story needs a second season.
Yeah, I like that they're sticking
a second season.
That they're staying strong with like, how well received it was. Netflix approached them and were like, please, we'll give you all the money to, do it, force a second.
Right about David Martinez's unknown twin brother
with Lucy on the moon.
Diego
Yeah,
Martinez.
Yeah. you know that they did that, and they're like, no, we're content with the story that we provided here to sit on its own.
It would cheapen the ending.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if they were gonna do like a different character season 2 type thing.
Yeah, the best they could do would be like an anthology, right? You know,
Yes. Yeah,
it's
that's
it's a whole new storyline, whole new cast of characters.
Yeah.
The
Different time.
returning character is Night City. Night City is a character in
Yeah.
and of itself.
Yeah.
I'm doing the jack off.
You maybe get a background shot where you see Lucy's hair passing by as a like an anchoring point.
Yeah. Or like a fixer will be in the next one or something. Like that would be the only way to do this if they really want.
It's following Faraday's rise to being a fixer.
Yeah, so when we do these series episodes, we don't like go through and break down every single episode. It's simply too much to do that. But we do like favorites and least favorites, and we can do that with like characters too. Like who's your Edgerunners main? Who's your favorite?
Lucy is mommy.
I say who's your favorite character from the crew?
I mean, yeah, it's Lucy or David, right? I don't know how you can really. I mean, Rebecca.
I was about to say there's another character you can say, but you're not allowed to say that's your favorite character because
because of the implications. See, I'm a main head. I love Maine.
Maine was very good character.
I actually thought they did a lot of cool stuff with how they animated Maine and a lot of the frames that they used for him over and over for a lot of the conversations with David.
Especially, but I don't want to get into it now, but episode 6, like those animations, the dialogue between Maine and David, just mwah.
It's like one of those things. Like I know Studio Trigger well enough to know their usage of the same frames is not unintentional.
Yeah,
and it's not just we want to just have this frame, so we've already drawn it. There's reasoning for why they do things they do.
But I love the mirroring they do between Maine and David that they'll do, but they really hit home with like David quoting Maine at the end, and really kind of coming into his own and making Maine proud. But like the bits of like them like shooting up the immunoblockers at the same time in the same arm and seeing their trajectory as they go and seeing the foreshadowing that what will happen to David through Maine's rise and fall, and it's the
subtle handshaking is the first sign,
it rhymes.
followed by the.
And I mean, just the structure of the series itself, I really liked the time jump and like the split in the season. That you get like what could be a almost
you get a really condensed hero story. You get the rise to being the hero, the peak there, the fall, and then the end.
Yeah, and I just that the split and the episode 6 with Maine, I thought was just incredibly well done, and really made it like I think that decision and the execution of it made the show really stand out to me.
In terms of my probably least favorite character, and I can't even really call it that, but is probably Pilar, and it's like that they were going to have to kill him off first because the character would get too annoying if they kept him around too long. And
I don't even remember who that is.
He's Rebecca's older brother. Guy. He's got the cyber hands.
Oh yeah.
The one who gets his head blown off by the cyberpsycho.
Yep.
But it's like, he would just get too over the top if they kept him around too long. Yeah, my favorite bit on that part is like Rebecca's
there's a funny bit where Rebecca takes on the moniker of having the big weird hands.
Yeah, but she's like when the cyberpsycho kills him, she's pissed at him. She's like, you're not allowed to kill him. That's my job, or like only I'm allowed to do that. It's like that. One of these days, she was gonna pop his ass because he was a
Like a
bit.
completely believable statement coming from Rebecca.
Yes. Yeah, there's real menace behind those words, and it's not an empty statement coming from her.
I mean, it's because she has 5-foot girl boss energy.
No, she is the
Everyone knows
scariest
that
character.
once the height gets
She was
under
great.
5 foot, it becomes an exponential rate of anger generation.
She has serious, bipolar energy. That just, literally on a hair trigger, just, is either super depressed or, is literally going to kill you.
A BPD girl boss slay queen.
Which is, why, we'll be charitable and say why most of that section of the internet was obsessed with her at the series launch, and not for other reasons. Definitely not for other reasons. Um, did we all watch it in the dub?
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen all of the crucial scenes in Japanese.
I definitely would rewatch it in the sub, but time constraints and things.
I remember when it first came out, Matt and I watched the first episode together in the sub, and it was like pretty good, but like then it just became clear, and it was, I feel vindicated in that my weeaboo creds aren't getting taken because Reddit agreed with me that that this is like the rare exception to the rule where you actually want to watch the dub.
I mean, it's focused in America.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying to you guys, is like that while cyberpunk as a genre is so heavily influenced and has its genesis in Japan, this, cyberpunk cyberpunk 2077 or cyberpunk red, like the R. Telsorian TTRPG that it's based off of, this universe is a uniquely American take on the cyberpunk genre. It takes place in what would have been ex-United States. Getting into the actual lore, it's like Night City is not part of the new USA after like these corporate wars and shit. It's like its own little haven. But it's
and
like
they got a dude named David Martinez.
Yeah, it's located in like California, Nevada area. There's a lot of like Mexican and Hispanic and Latin influences in the city. I mean, one of the major gangs in the city is basically all Latin.
Yep.
It's it's like that's a strong part of its identity. But then it's like, you don't get like the so much of its the character of the universe is like the slang, right? And it's like, how do you translate choom into Japanese, right?
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I feel like they would just say
person just say choom.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I want to go back and kind of rewatch an episode or two in Japanese to see how exactly they handle it. But I just feel like it flows better in English and just kind of makes a little bit more sense in knowing the kind of the in-universe reasons for where it exists and why it exists and what it's trying to do. I think English is the best way to go, at least at first. And yeah, I think and like you got they had a lot of kind of, or some significant big name voice talent too for the American American
I mean, on
cast.
top of the fact that the OP is an English song.
Yeah, Franz Ferdinand. Where are they from? They're somewhere in Europe. Are they?
I mean, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was from
They are. They're Scottish. Okay, I thought I saw somewhere that they were somewhere.
Oh,
I mean,
Okay,
Scottish
they're
is in
Scottish.
fact European.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. I guess. I guess you're right.
But like they're the cool Europeans.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the
Unlike the
few.
Welsh.
They're the
That's right.
few.
Calling
They're
out
the
the
few.
Welsh homies out
They're the
there.
few acceptable ones on that hell continent, subcontinent.
Yeah.
That little
that
cursed island.
archipelago.
Yeah. All right. So we just want to go in and everybody talk about what's your favorite and least favorite episode. Anybody
Yes.
anybody
I'm
have
down.
I'll start negative. I don't have a least favorite episode, to be
Same.
honest.
it's really hard for me to pick
Yeah.
one.
I think pacing wise, each episode has exactly its purpose.
Yeah. I can't pick one. And I watched them all and like binge watched them, so a lot of them bled together. So I do know
I
my
mean, a
favorite.
lot of them really are meant to be watched together so that you
Yeah.
keep the tension.
I'd say probably my least favorite one is probably number 7. Number 7 titled Stronger. It's the one
Yeah,
after the
it's the
time
first
jump.
Swole David
Yeah.
episode.
Definitely the
Yeah.
weakest.
And it's just like it's a little bit of connective tissue from
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
see the whole purpose of that episode is just to show that David has just become man.
right.
That
like,
things run exactly the same with David now that they ran with Maine and his previous crew.
Yeah, my one bit is just like that it is in the jobs that they're doing like are just disconnected from the main plot. They're just doing regular gigs,
Yeah.
now. But yeah, it's like you're seeing him, fully beefed up, he's still he's fully stepped into the mantle of like the Sandevistan of Santo and he's got Maine's cannon arms on there. So like that was one where he
I mean,
fights against
he's chrome neck down.
he's chromed the fuck up.
The other thing about that episode, I think, is that it also sets up the final 3 episodes of the series.
It sets up
and
the
has
fall.
Yeah, and has a lot of it's exposition heavy. Like there's a scene where you essentially are just told all of Lucy's key background story notes.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it is a little weak in its storytelling, is that she literally just tells you the story in a pretty flat out way.
Lucy stops being a character for like 2 episodes, basically.
Mm.
Like you really don't see her much in 7 or 8.
It kind of would have been cool instead if it was just like a flashback episode or something. Or it's purely just from her perspective.
Yeah, they could have done like a split episode.
And it comes back to, like then just like a mission with David, David gets back from this mission or, this gig and is just, all worn out and she's still, you then get that dynamic of, they're still together.
Might not even be the right term. Dude is in the full thralls of cyberpsychosis at that point.
He's showing those because it ends or there's like one frame that ends where Lucy's looking at him and the same hand of Maine starts twitching again, just as Maine. Like I said, it's poetry. It rhymes.
I was always just left curious by the end of the show of what would have happened had David only ever stuck with the Sandevistan, because he clearly showed the aptitude for it. Where it's like, would he have ever succumbed to psychosis if he never chromed anything past that? Would he have been able to use it at will, relatively speaking?
So that's an interesting point, because I don't think that's a possibility. I think one of the themes is how corruptive these things are, in that like the cybernetics almost stand in as a direct symbol of capitalism, and how once it's got its hooks in you, it just
I've always looked at it, and it's a severely more destructive manner of it, but I've always looked at it like tattoos. Because everyone I know who gets a tattoo, they get that first tattoo, they fall in love with it, they're super happy, then they get the next one, and then after they get the next one, the third one comes quicker. And next thing you know, you've got your full sleeve on there.
He's anti-tattoo, folk. He's taking a stance here.
It's not at all that though. Like I have
as
no
I'm
issue
giggling
with that.
because I had an appointment Friday, but his other
No,
appointment
like,
ran late.
I'm not
so
saying
now
it in a negative connotation there. It's just more
no,
of
but
like
it's true.
once
like
you get the
saying
first
with
chrome piece
tattoos.
on, next you got to the legs next.
It becomes addictive.
I'm too slow. Can't react fast enough.
Yeah, Matt's in his like, you'll never get a real job with
tattooed individuals don't belong in the
you'll never
workplace.
get a real Arasaka job if you're chromed the fuck out.
So yeah, your point, Andrew, it's like this Cyberpunk, and I'm specifically referring to this universe. It's not like, this is the theme is not like anti-tech. It's not like anti-technology. It is a stand-in. It is the metaphor for capitalism, which I've been working on my overall kind of thesis of the show, and can kind of touch on a point of it here. But yeah, it's the reality that you don't have you have this illusion of choice, right?
Yeah.
You are really kind of forced down, basically in this universe, it's one of two tracks. And it's being an edge runner, or being, an edge runner, a ganger, or, just a corpo rat.
So I think it's an interesting point that this is not anti-technology, but rather anti-capitalism, because post World War II, a lot of media, especially in sci-fi, was taking a critical stance on the technology. And it was largely a direct
especially the closer to
of,
World War II aspect, you can understand why.
Because
there was a bit of a technological jump.
It is a reaction more. Again, technology is kind of like the symptom. It's a reaction to the formation of the military-industrial complex, right? That's like, technology makes those jumps because it is a factor of war, of making war, of dealing death.
Exactly. And it was, their critiques are specific to the military industrial complex, to the proliferation of technology, to the like a final critical understanding of technology as a largely state and military apparatus, and it's always incepted and created and funded through there, and has historically. So I think it's an interesting change here, from that critique of just the specific military industrial complex, which is capitalism, but now taking it that final step further and really looking at the technology solely through the lens of capitalism, and critiquing capitalism at its core through the technology.
These things are tied together, because like, what do they keep saying about the Sandevistan? It's a military grade implant.
So
Militech is like the number 2 biggest megacorp.
And I'm not saying that point is lost about the military industrial complex, but I think it's interesting to, that's taken it the full step further, that the military industrial complex is a symptom of capitalism, and it's really capitalism and the the need to make money, not to be the first, because the military industrial complex, as it was understood by the masses and even through history, has been like one of being the first to do something, to the first to the internet, first to the moon. Like it had more of a nationalistic tone to it, even in the critiques, whereas this really I think hammered home on just capitalism as an ideology. Like that's where the attack is, and then you see the symptoms of it, but the true critique, for those that are in the know, could understand it, is the economic theory in and of itself.
One thing I was reading when just kind of doing my kind of due diligence on the episode is someone pointed out, and I think this is really true, is that this version of cyberpunk, of the genre, the universe created by Mike Pondsmith, originally for the tabletop, is anti-capitalist, but it is not it's not like, say, like a guide towards revolution. It's not about dismantling capitalism. It is the warning of this is where we're headed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about how if we get there, which all signs indicate that that's where we're going, you will only have these options of kind of self-expression, will be basically clawing back some marginal sense of agency through the idea of going out in the blaze of glory, right? Becoming a legend in that sense, and that there's no hope for real true like liberation or flourishing. That the only thing that we can hope, that there's no self-propagation, because this world fucking sucks and is doomed. The only chance for immortality that we have is to become a legend, is to die gloriously, and to go out in this blaze of glory, and like
some Viking shit.
Yeah, that's all that remains there.
Because that's my biggest thing with David as a character, is David shows throughout the show that he's a character technically with no agency.
Mm-hmm.
None of the decisions
Lucy
he makes
says
have
as
any
much
actual control on what happens in the actual outcome for him. The outcome was sealed from the day he was born.
Well, and Lucy, I forget what episode it is, but Lucy makes that point to him that he's constantly living someone else's life, or living for someone else's life.
Well, that's the funny part, is he happily does that at the end.
Yes.
He happily says that this is what my mother and Maine would have wanted. Whereas early on, David was rebellious to his mother's dreams of wanting him to, rise atop Arasaka Tower, which admittedly was never going to be a realistic outcome for him, given the circumstance.
One like larger critique I'll give to the story as a whole is, and to Matt's point, that David doesn't have agency and is, a character that they're obviously trying to show that he doesn't have agency, and they're trying to, promote their
I was telling
through that.
Ben and Andrew yesterday that, like, whether or not he meets Lucy has no effect on whether or not he ends up in the cyberskeleton. Yeah, he ends up in that cyberskeleton regardless of that key inflection point in what his life becomes.
And so my critique of the show is, Lucy is their character that has agency. That is, she's
the actual main character.
Say proved by the fact that she's the only one that survives.
Exactly. And I think they could have drilled down harder on that, or like, if they had episode 7 being a split episode where she has a flashback arc or something like that, they could have driven that home slightly better than they did, because there was so much focus on David. But I think that
David is the legend. David is the one that you're going to hear about through lore and legend. No one's going to know about Lucy,
because that only happens if you die. Again, it's like that the only way that you
Lucy gets her dream that she wanted from the beginning.
All right, so this is okay. Go ahead.
Hold on, I do want to add something there, because I think, Mike, that's a fair critique in a way, but I almost do view it as Lucy choosing to remove herself from the story by not even being in it for the time.
That's how she gets her dream.
That's almost them doing that.
Yeah,
that's showing the ability for her to choose in a way.
The dialogue and the plot devices and how they progress that, they just didn't make it as obvious to the viewer. I think that they could have done that better. I have no problem with her being removed. I do think that they could have still made that point with like splitting an episode of her, like, in a flashback, just like while she's diving or something, and then we cut to David. There's ways to do that. But yeah, it was just more that they didn't make it so obvious for the dummies watching it, the plebes, the masses.
We're just like, ooh, pretty colors, guns go boom, booba.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's got all those and it does them all really well.
It also tells the lie of finding actually, I mean, a rainbow-haired girl who doesn't ruin your life.
Yeah. Just from like taking a step back and just looking at it as like a pure aesthetic product, right? It looks so good, dude. Bisexual lighting everywhere. It's just I love so many scenes.
I said it from the very, very early on that Trigger's DNA is all over the animation and the lighting and the shadows on the characters.
Yeah, I love the neon object source lighting that they'll have, like these contrasting colors coming in from opposing angles as both a highlight and a shadow. It's just like this really kind of fascinating study in color theory that just like works really, really well. But it's also then funny to look at it again in the kind of baby brain version, and yeah, it's like, oh look, it's bisexual lighting all the time, but it's always very striking. Pure aesthetics again. My only actual complaint of the show is that the cyberskeleton looks goofy as fuck.
Yes. 1000% agree.
It looks hella goofy.
I mean, everything it does is cool.
Yeah.
Like we were all giggling like little school children every time a gravity destroyed something.
The gravity stomp, yeah.
The gravity stomp's very cool.
Super cool. No, it looked goofy as fuck.
One thing,
except for that one shot after he's cleared out Militech and he zooms back over Rebecca and Falco, and just his eyes are just, or you just get the glare on his eyes and he's just kind of hovering over them. That's the one cool shot of it. Otherwise, it's goofy as hell. And I'm totally with Adam Smasher that, if this is a child's toy using anti-grav crutches, not even worth my time.
He dismantled it pretty easily. And it's what, like, I enjoyed the anime trope of like, I had a little fun at the least.
Yeah. I guess the other complaint that it's not about it's not really about the show, but it's that they make Adam Smasher an actual badass in the show, and in the game you literally, even on like the hardest difficulties, you just fucking you absolutely annihilate him in the end.
But that's just power scaling, where David Martinez is not the real anime MC. V is,
yeah.
So that brings up something I do want to talk about, and I don't want to delve too far into the game side of this discussion, but I think the show deserves some flowers for representing the horror and depravity and just the absolute destruction of really any humanity in Night City, in this world, in a way that the game just doesn't come close to accomplishing. Part of that's because I think gaming as a medium doesn't allow you to feel some of that pain. Like, you don't, playing a game, you're just mowing down bodies. You don't get the story of like, oh, you just killed a janitor who has a son. Like, whereas in the show, you get that scene where David,
the lab
loses himself for the first time and kills a quote unquote like innocent person. I mean,
are we gonna have the Barrett conversation about what constitutes as innocence?
Well, yeah. So here we can finally now get to my whole thing, because it's like the question of is that lady an innocent, right? Is she's part of the corpo structure, is she an innocent? So it's kind of all these things we've been talking about already, like the lack of choice, the set paths that you are on, the rigid tracks that you are set along from birth based on your lot in life through capitalism, right?
And I do want to add one thing there, Ben, before you continue. The one thing that I really appreciate after wrapping it up is how the show literally tells you the entire story in the very first scene of it. it literally lays out what will happen to David in the very first scene with the brain dance he's experiencing. And I thought that was a good way of tying it all together.
All right, so my whole thing is that you are in Night City, you have one choice, and it ultimately leads to the same end. It is how do you want to die, and what do you want to die? The capitalism gives you two choices: the death of the body or the death of the soul, and you must choose one or the other. You are, say, complicit in doing great evil and great harm to your fellow human beings around you. Choosing to become the edge runner, which is what David does, ultimately results in the death of the body. He is killing, he even says that I've lost track of the number of, thugs and gangers that I've killed in my life. Like in this time, he's grown numb to it. These are all, bad people, quote unquote, who have,
I think they even directly say at some point that we're doing bad things to bad people.
Yeah, and it's that so his actions are more immediate, but your choice to go down the corpo route, you don't necessarily have the physical blood on your hands, but you are perpetuating the system that still deals death to untold numbers of people, right? And so you are either going to, save your soul and live free and go out on your quote unquote own terms by taking the more overtly violent route, or you are going to sell your soul to the devil and live your life in relative obscurity and as much comfort as can be kind of scraped from this existence, but at the ultimate cost still of your humanity. And that is the choice that capitalism ultimately leaves at all of us at some point. And it's kind of ties into the idea of the game too, because the whole crux of Cyberpunk 2077 is then about how even if you choose the edge runner path, capitalism can still come for your soul, baby. They can still come and take it, put it on a microchip. That's everything that happens with Johnny Silverhand, and it's a compelling cautionary tale, right? I think it shows us the perils and like, oh yeah, it'd be so cool to have all this cyberware, to have the Sandevistan, to have super speed and all this shit.
They
but
absolutely make the way the Sandevistan works look really cool, like the animation for the Sandy.
I love that they call it Sandy as well.
But that ultimately, it ties back in again to your point, Matt, that like whether he chose to go back to Arasaka Academy or
Right when
the
he
Edge
gets
Runner
that
route,
first phone
he
call,
was going into the Cyberskeleton regardless. He had no real choice in the matter.
his aptitude was either you're really good with cybernetics, so we're going to keep testing you with cybernetics till we find your limit and you die.
And it is just again this reality of what do you want to give up, your body or your soul, and it's one or the other.
I mean, he even is given theoretically, whether or not it's true or not. Adam Smasher tells him right before he kills him at the end, like, you could make a good construct. Like,
yeah. So Andrew, you were like kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudging me when he gives that line. Do you think that was what they're making a reference to? Do you think David's brain is going to end up on a chip at some point?
I don't have any other read on why they would include that sentence. I think it's 100% alluding to like, we're going to at least try and figure out why you had this predisposition to handling cybernetics. Like, whether or not he becomes a real construct or not. I think it's a statement alluding to the fact that he's dead, but it doesn't matter. They're going to figure out what made him tick and why he had the abilities he had.
Does he
do Cyberpunk Jesus, remember he's special.
Yeah.
So like after he dies, do we see what happens to like the recovery of his body or anything?
No.
Because who's to say that that someone didn't take a policy out on him and trauma comes, swoops up his body, brings it to Arasaka, and then they make a little chippy chip from his brain.
Yeah, or they make him. I love the line of when David and Adam Smasher first come face to face, and it's Adam Smasher, the NC Boogeyman of legend in the chrome. Heard you went noGanic, full Borg.
Full Borg.
It's really cool. Just a great line. All right, so we actually haven't talked about favorite episodes. Favorite episodes. I feel like we're all going to have a similar read on it, that almost everybody's probably going to pick number 6, Girl on Fire. When Maine goes cyberpsycho.
Yep.
It's the true turning point in the series. And I agree that is probably the top episode. I really like the pilot. I think the first episode is so strong. And like
the first one hits you with a couple different emotions in just like 25 minutes.
Yeah, Andrew just like texts us after watching the first one, was like, "Oh my God, I'm so mad, so sad." Like, it's just like, again, it is showing you everything that is rotten at the core of this world. The whole idea of this is the healthcare system that fucking Jeff Bezos is going to implement with his Amazon healthcare system.
Oh God.
They're gonna create
those
trauma
scenes
team.
are so heartbreaking. The scenes where he's talking to the Ripper Doc, who like tells him his mother's gonna live, and then, oh, you don't have enough money, and then the next thing you know, she's dead, is just like so devastating. The one thing that on favorite episode,
and what's shitty about that, let me interrupt you just quickly, is like this is supposed to be like, oh, this is the future, right? This is the future we don't want. This is our reality, folks. That's what we live in. If you don't have the money, you're gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
Isn't the implication also in the beginning that her real job, air quotes, is as a trauma?
No, she's like an EMT. She is not trauma team. She is just an EMT. Like the jacket that David takes is hers. That's an EMT jacket. Yeah. But like how she really makes her money is she takes from dead people that's what
I was going to get at, was that the implication that an EMT who works theoretically alongside the trauma team wouldn't even have the basic basic coverage plan to like remove her from a car accident.
Right. Yeah, she was wearing the coat too in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing with his mother that I think helps point to building the theme of, even when you're choosing, you are losing a part of yourself, is that the one person in the story who I think is depicted as being a good person entirely up until a point is his mother. And then it's revealed that in order to make ends meet, she's had to make this choice of becoming
she couldn't involved. Do it the right way to get David up top. She even had to go through the bottom.
Yeah. Like, I thought that reveal was important.
She's not special there in any way, right? Like when David first passes out from overuse of the Sandy, the medic that they're in the ambulance with pulls a gun on them and is gonna, it's like, he's got a bounty on his head for the for the return of the Sandevistan. And then it's a great scene where then Lucy kicks open the back and they
pilots the thing out.
The gurney out. Yeah.
It's definitely just because of how cool the action is, and not the posing.
Definitely not the angles. Definitely not the angles of that shot. Definitely not. It's just cool.
But I think that part where Maine and crew, and he makes the revelation that, his mother Gloria is the woman who was trying to sell him the Sandy. I think that's when he gains the respect for her again, because he realizes she isn't just the theoretical corpo sellout trying to get her son to the top,
right?
And that she also is dragging through the dirt trying to do anything possible.
Imagine if Maine installed the Sandevistan. Oh my God, dude would have gone psycho in like the first
immediately.
He probably would have used it like 3 times.
Yeah, maybe. I think the first,
and then his cyberpsycho moment would have been way worse.
Yeah, so let's move then to episode 6, which is probably the other top episode, Girl on Fire. One of probably the most striking and beautifully animated and scored episodes out there. The depiction of Maine's cyberpsychosis is like so devastating, just his confused. I mean, it's almost like used as like a tie-in for like dementia. He's
Yeah.
just like not sure where he is, what he's doing, can't remember, acts out violently against his loved ones, out of confusion. It's tragic, and you would think it's
It's
totally
actually one of the
avoidable, but
beautiful
it's
things,
not. Yeah.
though, is the way that David grounds him during the psychosis moment at the very
That's
end.
what made
Like
this
that,
episode for me.
like bringing him back for just that moment. Lucy does it to David too at the end, which gives you a little bit of a feel for how Maine must have felt about David as a protege, an apprentice,
A surrogate
the one
son.
who is going to
Yeah,
carry on the
exactly.
legacy.
Because like I've said, like that's the only actual uh possibility for some type of meaning making in this life, is to leave an impression on those that are left behind. And that's something that's all that, again, we have now
Yes.
is how we create community and how we are able to influence those that we care about. We have no power in under this system. We have no true agency to make meaning for ourselves, or to have meaning easily accessible. We must scrape tooth and nail to get it where we can, and it's often going to be in the most destructive manners possible. And it's tragic in it, but it's inevitable, right? Based on the
Something
material
else,
conditions we live in.
something else that I think the show did a really good job of is we don't really see inside the head of a cyber psycho until we get to David's full cyber psycho moments, where you get to see what he saw in that office with that doctor and the lab assistant or whatever the main man's role was, and the all of the guns coming out of the like every orifice, and it's like you can truly see the like why it's a terrifying experience and like why what the chrome is doing to your brain.
The dementia aspect of it, like I think again, just it all really speaks to that even when you are trying to not participate, right? Like there isn't an option to not participate, and no matter what, it's going to just take that humanity from you one way or another. Like either through participating in the corpo structure or through eventual cyber psychosis and death. Like you are going to lose yourself one way or another.
Yeah, it's one of the episodes where the themes of the show are on its clearest display, and it's handled in a way that that could be so wild, over the top. Like the action of the scene is actually kind of toned down. You don't
Yeah.
actually see a lot of
There's a
it.
lot more emotional
Yep.
tension, especially between Lucy and David in the car when she's trying to convince him not to go back.
And it's just like, you're always they always hold like the camera so close up into
Close.
Maine.
Yep.
It's not like that you're seeing, you get a
Oh, it's
one,
really
he
just face shots.
he blows up a cop here and another one
Yeah.
there and a medic here, a trauma team there, Max Tech there. It's so always focused on Maine, and then to the point where it's internal, where it's looking at this and again, they do this beautiful kind of mirroring of, like, the episode starts with, basically, it's like Maine when he first came to Night City, his coming out of the desert as this kind of scrappy kid, no chrome, got some hope in his eyes, right? And then it ends
like
as
David.
he's staring out into the desert.
Yeah.
David is his only hope left. Everything else has been stripped away from him until the point where literally his body is flayed apart by this explosion that he creates. And it's just played in such a deliberate manner that it's you can't kind of miss what they're trying to hit home at. And I think it's very successful. More so, I think, than the end episodes, which are still good. Which are still good.
6 was it was incredible.
They're still like the last episodes are still very good, but like they're not as intentional, I think, as
episode 10
is.
Episode 10's use of the song they play on the moon right at the end is like that's some top tier emotional string pulling.
As they do the shot where in the cyberskeleton, David has
Sandied into the room in front of Lucy.
Has rescued Lucy, and they're falling from the top of Arasaka Tower, and they're backlit by the moon as that song is playing. Yeah. Dude, when playing, having again for me, because I watched the show first, to then when I played the game and that song first came over the radio in the game, I'm just like, I'm mowing down tiger claws. I'm just like, I did it, Ma! I'm on the top of Arasaka Tower. It's just like, bawling my eyes out. It was
definitely don't go read the lyrics to that song. Definitely doesn't make you cry harder.
Yeah.
It's like I looked up the lyrics before the podcast. I was like, nope, not reading those on the podcast.
Well, I won't get through these, so can't do it.
Yeah. Nope, that is too sad.
But the episode title for number 10, My Moon, My Man. It's brutal.
And I mean, I said it to you guys after we watched it. Like, she got her dream, but it felt like it didn't even matter to her at that point because it wasn't the full. Like, she didn't get to share it.
Yeah, because David wasn't there. It was only there in her mind.
And I think it's I do like that the David they show with her is the like pre-chromed David.
Yeah.
Like
young David.
Just reinforcing
which is the David she fell in love with.
Right.
And relatively speaking, Swole David is where he became more main than David.
Right, exactly. Like that, the David that has been in the show for the last several episodes isn't David. Helps just reinforce that idea, I think.
Like the going home and like sitting up and like not watching the TV, but just sitting in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely,
definitely healthy.
Just absolutely, empty behind those Kuroshis. Nothing going on. I know it's not supposed to be funny, but we were laughing at the bit where he
when Rebecca got smushed.
No, not that one. But no,
I was laughing when Rebecca got smushed.
No, it's the when David, fully nude, Swole David, fully nude, just like looking at the photo of his mom, and having the flashback to the woman that he killed, and starts the nosebleed and just passes out, face down, ass up.
Again, the absolute worst position to be found.
Prone position. Yeah, it's just
basically like inverted fetal position, naked on the floor.
Yeah. It's
tough look.
All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about briefly, not to like downplay the work that CD Projekt did to make the game better after its disastrous release. The show came out right around, it was like the 1.6 update, which was which is really where the game started to kind of solidify and to be like, this is a good experience. But still obviously before the major overhaul of the 2.0 and whatever they're on right now.
2.1.
Yeah, it's and so not to downplay the work that did to repopularize in the game and to help it, sell even more. But like, really, this show like really kind of was the key turning point in the kind of cultural appreciation for the game. You know, there's actual data about like what the impact that the show had on sales. They were able to like cross the not $20 million, the 20 million copies sold
Yeah,
because of
no,
this.
Edgerunners was a huge post-launch push for them.
Their
Yep.
quarterly
Sold a
profits
lot of
like
copies
went
of
up a
a like
ridiculous
discounted
percentage.
price.
Yeah, their
So I think they
profits.
coincided the end episode with like a 2 week like $20 for the full game sale or something like that.
Yeah, I remember getting the game on a very good sale. I did not pay nearly.
Yeah, I
close
think
to
I
full
bought the game
price
for like
it.
$14, which if the game is at the point it is now is a
An
bargain.
absolute steal for the amount
yeah.
of content you get there. And I
That's
only
why
played.
patient gaming always wins.
Yeah, I've only played it from the 2.0 and beyond. I played when Phantom
Yeah,
Liberty came
this
out.
show makes me sad that Rebirth is coming out in 2 weeks, so I don't have time to play Cyberpunk in between.
But you
You'll get your chance.
Yeah, you won't have to wait too long because it's going to be Andrew's pick eventually later this year. So you'll be forced to play it at some point this year. He's already decided.
Air quotes forced.
Yeah.
Forced, yeah.
Yeah, something like they had a 70% increase in revenue year on year after this came out.
I remember even hearing about it, like articles and shit about sales going
There
up.
was so much. There were so many Reddit threads that were like, Edgerunners comes out, and all of a sudden everyone forgives how bad the game was.
Yeah, and like I mean they reached new like concurrent player records after the game came out. It was a huge marketing success for the game. That to the point where I don't think the game would be where it's at without
I'm
the
sure
show.
there were quite a few people who watched it and were like, I need to go find my Lucy.
Well, because people have made the argument, I think kind of correctly, that Edgerunners really kind of tells the story and the themes that the game is trying to tell and does not fully succeed at.
Yes.
It does a pretty good job, I would say, but it does not fully stick the landing. And whereas this, sails through.
That's 100% my thoughts, is that this is great supplementary, support to the themes in the game.
This is how you should do adaptations if you're going to put something alongside a game that just came out. Is it should build upon the lore and give you something the game can't,
and be short in how they do it. Like I like that this is a self-contained
10
season,
10 episodes
10
of 25 minutes apiece, and that's it.
Yep. No, I really appreciate
no hidden 45-minute episode at the end.
Yeah. The one thing I that changed on my review, well, there's several things, but like my experience with the show is unique, I think, in the sense that I've now watched it twice, once before and once after playing the game. There were bits when I first watched it that I was like kind of in the weeds for. Like I didn't know what a brain dance was, at that point. So like so much of the beginning parts of it, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like just some of the lingo, not even like the slang, but like just some of the actual just use case lingo just kind of went over my head, and it made it
like
a little
max
bit more
tack.
It made it a little bit more opaque for me. Where it took me. I was able to do it, but like I just had to like kind of do a little bit more legwork. Whereas watching it again after playing it, being more familiar with the universe and it's kind of the way it operates, the story was and the minutia of the story. Its themes were always really well executed and really apparent, but the minutia of the story and the plot was vastly improved being familiar with the universe. The one thing, there are several cases that I didn't like of just like what just felt to me like this kind of organic, no pun intended, world that they're showing here. It was just like, oh, that's just a fucking Easter egg that they're doing. Like when they go to Lizzie's bar or Afterlife and you see Rogue, toast you with a glass, it was just like, oh, that's just like gratuitous, like
there's
Doesn't
there's a
feel that
little
way
bit.
to a non-player.
right, but it does when you've played before. And that's what I'm saying. Like those moments were better. They just felt like this is just like a cool, world, a living, breathing world that they're showing me versus like, oh yeah, that's a reference.
No, there's a little bit too much of the Leo pointing at the screen for just like background stuff. Absolutely.
That they didn't need to do, they just
No, there wasn't a
Night
need
City
for
is
it.
big enough that you don't have, they could have just gone to Afterlife. You don't need to see Rogue,
Yes.
And particularly in the way that they did. Maybe like they walk past her table or something and she's kind of shadowy there in the corner. That it's literally a blink and you miss it kind of thing. It was literally the raising of the glass.
Yeah.
To me, it was just like, oh no.
Yeah, that's a little too much.
So I like when they're subtle. I like when they're very subtle and they're not so, in your face. But that's it for me. I think this was a good episode. Should we do ratings and get on out of here?
Yeah. Let's
Right.
do it.
I'm gonna write down adaptation and show scores. Who wants to go first? I'm happy to lead off if nobody else wants to.
You say going first is always the tough one because you set the mood.
I'm setting the tone.
Else. If you jump in, you're like, "Yo, this is a 10 out of 10," and people are saying like, "Yo, I was gonna give this a 6."
I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine being this way though. I'm giving it a 10 for adaptation. I'm going there. I'm going 10 for adaptation. I'm going. I mean, Andrew and I are the only ones who played, so it's.
I'm right there with you because I think this is the first, besides Arcane for different reasons, primarily being that the game itself doesn't have a real story. This is the first adaptation.
Arcane doesn't have a game. What are you talking about? It's not real. It cannot hurt you.
We don't talk about that. Yeah.
But this is the first adaptation where I think it does a better job of exploring.
Yeah, it's themes, like if I could go above, I could go above, it's like it's better than the game,
Yes, exactly. So I would agree with you and go. I think it does deserve a 10. I don't think you could adapt something in a better way than they've done it.
So as a non-player, I wasn't going to give it a 10 because I feel like that's disingenuous and unfair as someone who hasn't played the game, but I was going to go over 9 just because of what I've seen in the way the connections are made and how much I enjoy the story being and expanding upon something that the game itself, it really is just more of a throwaway, like a side mission or like you blink and you miss it, you would never see it again. But you get to expand on that storyline through a different medium. And that's something like, if you're going to do that, that is how I would like to see adaptations handled more often. It's like, tell me a story the game can't.
Yeah. So what do you give it, a 9? A 9 what?
A 9.5.
Right.
I'm going
to round it out.
Join Matt in that for the same reason. Like, because I haven't played the game, I don't think I could give it a 10. But I think, yeah, so I think they did an incredible job of telling a video game, story, keeping the themes, expanding on those themes. And it was overall a great fucking series to watch. So definitely a 9.5.
It makes me want to build my character as just Lucy and just play as Lucy.
Dude, mine was
the garrote wire.
My V was basically a pure net runner. With the mono wire. And dude, it absolutely fucks. It's like you need to play on, at the very minimum, hard in order to make that a somewhat engaging experience. It's OP. the pure Netrunner is super OP.
Absolutely OP.
All right, show ranking. I have my few little nitpicks here and there that in order to not just be an absolute simp, I am going to knock it down a point and give it a 9 for a show, which I think is still at like, it's like super high end of our ranking.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of many
right?
things we've given above a 9.
I don't think so. I don't know that we have given anything. Arcane,
If
which
anything,
we keep talking about
Arcane.
again, is probably the only other one that comes close. And yeah, maybe do I quickly go back and listen to the episode and see what I gave Arcane to make sure I give it like a 0.1 higher.
That's
for that very reason.
So I'm saying 9 right now, but if you can go back, I'm not going to do it. If you can go back,
0.1 higher than Arcane.
Yeah, it's 0.1 higher than Arcane. Yeah.
So your ranking is X equals Arcane plus 0.1.
Plus 0.1. Yeah.
Unless 9 is already higher than it. I'm not going to go lower than a 9.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a 9 or a 9.1. I don't think I went above a 9 on Arcane, so I'm pretty sure 9.1 makes this the highest rated for me, and that's what I'm going to give it.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
I give it the plus 0.1 bump for Studio Trigger, and I give it the 9.2. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think they did a good job. It was entertaining. It gut punches you several times, which is something Studio Trigger loves to hide in their, it's a fun action anime, you're gonna enjoy this, and then
you're crying,
loss of loved ones.
The guys, I kept sending this meme just because the guys are just like, oh, I love this show, it's so cool. I'm just like, does he know?
I knew the whole time.
Does he know? You're watching a tragedy, my friend.
Yeah, a classic Greek tragedy, or a comedy, as I would.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike, what's the final score?
I'm in line step with you guys of the 9 or 9.1.
Let's do 9.1 because that gives us to
a 9.1 average.
Well, let's see. It gives us to 36.5 total, so 9.125.
Hell yeah.
So we've got a 9.75 for adaptation and a 9.125 for
this is going to be one of our highlights as far as doing these bits go.
I really don't think
North Star.
I really don't think there's going to be anything for a long time that's gonna top it.
And I sent you guys all the lyrics to the song in the group chat, so you can all.
Dude, Matt, you simply must edit in the music playing.
I was thinking about doing both the opening song and then the moon song as the end.
Hell yeah, just give us 8 seconds and you're good.
Nah, full 2 minutes. Fuck it.
They're not coming for us. We're fine.
No.
All right. Well,
that's me doubling down, just like when we were talking about Helldivers with Andrew stealing samples.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout for this becoming a Helldivers only podcast.
Yeah. All right, Jooms. Thank you for joining us today. It has indeed been Nova.
Supernova.
We are campaign comrades. We will be releasing this episode probably at a slightly later schedule because
it'll be tomorrow because you're leaving tomorrow, right? So I won't have to come down.
Well, I forgot tomorrow's a holiday. I did forget that tomorrow's a holiday.
So I can do some editing in the morning.
So it'll come out later. It'll be a little bit. So that explains why it's a little bit later in the day for our devoted Malaysian listeners.
Yes. Go get Ian Miles Chong.
Yeah. Go get him. Go get him. Thank you for listening. We will be back
next week with a news episode.
Week, is it? Yeah. It's the end of the month, right?
Then after that, it's Half-Life.
Yeah.
Which the next week episode may be a Sans Mike.
Yeah, he's moving. He's moving on up to the, we'll say to the east side because that's the lyric, but
we'll be the farthest east in New York that I've ever lived. So
I was gonna say keep it as ambiguous as possible.
we're going east.
All right. But thank you for joining. We will see you in the next one. In the meantime, you can support us by following and subscribing at twitch.tv/campaignComrades, as well as the YouTube channel.
Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify.
No longer on Google Podcasts, because that shit's going away.
RIP to another Google product thrown to the graveyard.
Yeah, and I do not like the YouTube music thing. I did switch to it, but like I'm probably just gonna.
I just do all my podcasts through Spotify now.
So I'm
gonna Rogan a lot of money.
I'm gonna re-up my premium subscription to Spotify, and probably also just move all my podcast name as well. Yeah. All right, folks. We will see you in the next one. Bye bye.